What's up, guys? What it do, what it does. We back at it. Locomotive Show, Dilly and Don. Yes, sir. Let's get it. We got a very special guest with us today, Mike Ponders. He's
I adore.
Yes, sir. He's a sound designer, not an engineer, a sound designer here in Knoxville. He works at He works at UT. He's just gonna give us some of his expertise and about how he got it started. So, let's get this going.
How was your day?
It was pleasant because I did some really hard chopping in the jungle that I call the backyard. And it always makes me feel calm.
Yeah, it's weird. It's strange how chores, they always end up being the most calming thing. That's my thing with dishes.
Yeah, this is nice and destructive while being constructive. So
yes.
It's awesome. I get to take it out.
And productive, hell yeah.
Take it out on something, but it actually helps.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, how long have you been working for University of Tennessee?
23 or 24 years.
Very nice. Did you go there as well?
I did about a year there, about a year at Maryville College. Later on, I finally finished a whole associate's degree out at Pellissippi in sound and in electronics.
Nice.
Yeah.
UT
Scratched the surface, but I learned a lot of basics.
Did UT treat you well, I assume, for you to stay that long?
Do I teach?
No, did they treat you well for you to have stayed that long?
Kinda. I mean, yeah, it's a freaky industry, to tell you the truth. In my opinion, but it's you know, in the past I've called it the king of art because you know, it incorporates all the different things all at once, like a TV show would, or a movie or something, where you have costumers and sound designers, and lighting designers, and all that.
Tech people and
yeah.
stuff.
You know, it's got that family thing going, and plus it's you know, one of the friendliest departments amongst the people, amongst the kids and everything, and it's you know, of course, a lot of the freakier kids are in the theater department, and they're happy, you know, in the theater department mostly, and I think theater's great for you even if you don't pursue it, you know, either technical or acting, but particularly acting.
I love the technical side of it, but even just the slight semester of acting that I had to take in high school was
It's amazing how much there is to know about talking.
Yeah, breaking out of your shell, becoming a whole different person and stuff like that.
So what was it about, I guess, sound that brought you in, that got you started?
Well, I don't want to, even though I've spent 24 years of my life down there doing that, that wasn't what I was pursuing or anything. I was just generally into making music and kind of self-supporting from the early days when you could first start getting computers to use them to help you make music. I did that, and all I could use it for, because it was so early, it was an Atari ST with 1 meg of RAM, 1 meg of RAM.
Wow.
And no hard drive, and but it could follow along if I used one track of my 8-track reel-to-reel. It could follow along all the stuff on the 8-track reel-to-reel and play my MIDI drums and my MIDI bass parts and stuff, so I could save all those other tracks. Pretty in the weeds of a little description there for the audience, but
way more efficient way of handling things, or would you say it was more cumbersome?
it was super cumbersome because now all we need is a laptop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that? Like, when would you say?
3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by 1 meg of RAM for some people that might not know?
Well, you know, a modern computer, like a laptop, will have 16 gigs of RAM, and this had 1 megabyte.
Oh wow, okay, I see what you mean now.
Nowadays, what is a small Word document?
Okay.
Yeah, those are kilobytes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what is it? Do you feel like everything that you've been like? Do you feel like all the schooling that you were able to do here in Knoxville? Do you feel like it was able to, I guess, help you with like what you're doing now at UT?
Yeah, it did, but much more you know, an autodidact where you teach yourself and learn yourself. A lot of my friends are the same way and didn't finish school. And I worked with some people in the theater that were less educated than some of the others, but you know, there's lots of master's degrees.
Mhm.
It just depends if you're trying, one of the more possible things to make a steady living or to not be on tour all the time would be to teach, be a professor of this sort of stuff.
Okay, so how many studios do you have, or have you had, like, in the past?
Like every place I lived in, the only place I've lived beside Knoxville, I moved there in '83 when I was 23.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so what aspects of, like, what do you feel like you've learned, like, from going to school that you feel like you maybe not have been able to learn without going?
I'm just not, I don't credit school too much on it.
I understand that.
Yeah, there was a teacher at Maryville College. The first thing that I did for college was a year there, and there was Dr. Bonham, the piano professor, and he taught art, comparative art type stuff, survey stuff, and that piqued me pretty good. But there was a friend there who just turned me on to all sorts of music, and that's where I started really getting into it.
What kind of music?
Reggae and funk and punk. And,
Nice.
Anything real exotic or anything?
Well, some of the reggae we listen to is pretty exotic. You go to restaurants and you hear some reggae, and it's way better than not. But I know they're not going to play any of the freaky stuff.
Yeah. The wonky sound and stuff.
Exactly.
As DJ Khaled would call it. That weird shit.
That weird shit.
Well, I'm Sly and Robbie. They're like my heroes, Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare.
Yeah. You gave me some of the music. I appreciate that. I'd bump it and throw it on every Sunday. I just go through, because it's a lot of music, so it's hard to balance out.
I do that to people. Yeah. I consider it that I owe it because of one or two people that turned me on to so much music.
Yeah.
With all the knowledge that I guess that you've probably acquired, like with the past, I don't know, has it been like 20 years you've been doing this now?
Well,
more
than that for music.
Okay.
Well, I started when I was a teenager, playing guitar, and there was a moment where myself and Dave Phillips and Bill Cadellis got a guy that lived in town who, Rich Battaglia, who went on to be the tour manager, but before that the engineer for Bela Fleck, and also the Knoxville Brass or something.
Wow. And
so he had a reel-to-reel 4-track, which is what the Beatles made Sgt. Pepper's on, 4 tracks. A real one though, a fast-running, high-quality tape. But so we had him come over for like $25 an hour and record in my parents' basement for the first time when I was like 17 or something.
Yeah.
And before that, I had been using audio-visual cassette deck from the audio-visual department at my mom's school where she taught. And I would like record one thing, mono, and then put a microphone over it and run it into like a rack mount cassette deck for your stereo.
Right. And that was kind of what I wanted to ask, was that, like, you said that you have had like multiple studios like in the past. How different is like your studio now opposed to the ones that you've had in the past?
Dude, you should see.
It's pretty cool, but it's really small still. The more you work on it, the more you can keep stuff out of the way.
Right.
Make the wiring not have to run across everywhere. You spend a fortune on wiring, or just after a while you acquire so much stuff, so much wiring junk, snakes and stuff.
Yeah.
You can just start chopping them up and reusing them and soldering them, and making them very customized. But when I lived in Boston, every borough that I lived in, and I lived in a number of boroughs: Brighton, Austin, Cambridge, and a few others. And like Brooklyn and the Bronx are.
Oh, okay, yeah. Neighborhoods.
To New York, but this is the Boston version.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at first, let's say it was apartments, and in the living room right out there'd be a corner desk, all the stuff, pair of monitors, and then with girlfriends or with the woman I was married to back a little while back then. We rented houses, maybe with one or two other people, in the boroughs, and so I wanted a bedroom in that situation, and then a couple, I actually had basement space. One of them was like gravel and mud and stuff all around the outside, so I actually built sheetrock walls.
Wow.
To make a room of some sort down there, and dehumidifiers.
You gotta improvise somewhere. That's really what we've been looking for. Basement's always the go-to whenever you need a studio, I feel like.
Well, it's quiet. That's why I actually moved back to Knoxville. Dan was married, and we were looking, to be able to afford to get a house, which you can't do in Boston, hardly.
You were married?
Briefly. A year and a half.
How was that?
It was a bad idea.
Well, you said like you guys just weren't meant for each other.
Oh, it's kind of a long story, and I don't know. But anyway, so.
It's not like she's gonna see this.
Yeah, no, I'm guessing not.
I don't know, she might.
But when we moved back, we shopped a house that had a half-sunk basement just so I could build a studio. So someplace that had unfinished space.
Right.
And myself and Ed Bates, my awesome friend and great drummer and great painter. So I'll have to show you some phone pictures of some of his paintings.
Please do.
But he helped me build it, and the rest of it I mostly did myself. I kind of added that little corner booth for the vocals that we only use if we really want to torture somebody. But
yeah, you guys threw me in there and just told me go. They literally put me in this place that I guess is designed to, if you stay in it too long, you hear yourself and you kind of go mad. And they just said, hey, just sit in here and rap. Yeah, we're gonna be
the corner booth in my studio is so dead sounding that it is a little weird to be in there.
Wow.
And it got to the point where they were just going on, and I was like, okay, I'm out of content now. What do I do? And it was a weird experience having to sit there with myself and also try to keep up.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the sound was separating me from the experience.
It's a room within a room, and then the guy with at the computer with the controls is in the control room.
Okay.
So it's room.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
I posted some Instagram.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
Kind
about.
of see into the corner booth from the control booth.
Gotcha. Well, you've been making music for probably a long time. How long have you been recording artists?
That's a good question. I started doing that in Boston too, a little bit, but like I got to, the one thing I'm going to remember well is that I got to record Bad Manners, this famous ska band, English ska band. Yeah. And of course they crashed at my house for the evening or something, but touring is very hard. But this guy, Buster Bloodvessel, is kind of famous, the leader of Bad Manners.
Hey, shout out Bust.
Yeah. A friend of mine that I worked at the restaurant brought him to my studio while they were coming to Boston to play. And this guy that I worked with had his own ska band called Bim Scala Bim, and he's with the Citizens, which is really famous now still.
Wow.
He used to be, I think, the New York Citizens. But anyway, he's a killer trombone player.
Yeah.
So let me just say something about Boston, because the rest about Boston, the music scene was just amazing when I was there, and I wasn't worrying about trying to have my stuff together. So I was just going and seeing all of them and staying up late, and places in Cambridge, and there's a place on the waterfront called real famous. What's it called? Anyway, that's where I saw P-Funk. At least once or twice. I saw, I saw Sly and Robbie there.
I bet you love that.
Yeah, it was great. But one of the best memories I have were in this, like, how they use storefronts for music venues, where you can have a display windows in the front, but it's a bar. There was a place called Jack's at Cambridge Square, and Harvard Square, and James Blood Ulmer played there, and I saw him, like, I swear 3 times at the same place, and once or twice at another couple of places. If you don't know who James Blood Ulmer is, he's a jazz guitarist that is not like what you think of when you think of a jazz guitarist.
I've been trying to piece together some of the names you've been saying this
Yeah.
whole time, low key, just trying to keep a list mentally.
He's one of my favorites, just as a guitar hero.
Mm.
He's real crazy.
Got a lot of finger work.
It's rough. It's
Yeah.
extra rough. But he made a whole album called Memphis. I think he did it at Sun Studios, and
Wow.
and he does like Little Red Rooster and cover songs. But really he's was in Ornette Coleman's band some, which is the hardest of the weird jazz
Really?
in my mind in a way from the 70s.
Do you still play guitar?
Sure.
So you're pretty good?
I still learn stuff all the time, even though I don't practice enough to use it super well, and
Right.
certainly play better when nobody's watching.
When did you move to Knoxville? Like, when did you make the move to Knoxville and start? How was the music scene versus Boston? Because you said Boston has a really good music scene.
Good question. Well, it's wildly different, of course, but it was still pretty fun, and actually there was good stuff in Knoxville while I lived in Boston that kind of went away. There was El Garou's uptown was a cool bar or restaurant, and I think James Bloodolmer and Captain Beefheart played there, maybe in the same bill.
I've heard that name before on a Mark Maron
Mhm.
stand-up special.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Did you end up doing any events there in Boston, or were you just kind of working your studio?
Question. We tried. I had my friend that I wrote music with and stuff up there at the most of the time, Kevin Fitzsimmons was. We tried to have a reggae band. Actually, I was almost in a reggae band of all Jamaican guys.
Wow.
Because Jamaica Plains up there is that area, and there was the Western Front, and we were going to play there, and I rehearsed with them and all that stuff, and
You were set.
they got arrested.
What? No. What'd they get arrested for?
Ganja.
Ah, the system.
Why else, man?
The system.
Why else? Damn.
The U.S. is selling weed. Never
But anyway, me and Kevin Fitzsimmons, we tried to, make some jingles and pitch them to some people.
Right.
That's hilarious to listen to. I still have a few of those.
Like for companies and everything?
Yeah.
Have you been able to reconnect with them since then?
Yeah.
No, I've actually kind of lost out on him. Don't make me sad.
Oh, man. That's unfortunate, man. When's the last time you've been back to Boston?
Well, not for a long time, because it was like, that was a long time ago to begin with. And
Right.
even though I did go back a few times, my parents liked going up there.
Nice.
So,
Well, what got you into like doing events? Like that's what Chris has always kind of told me about. I was like, you do like big events, like theatrical events.
I work with Clarence Brown, and we do pretty heavy duty and stuff of all different types.
yeah.
Let's see. So that would be like a play, though. I mean, I might be a designer for it, but often nowadays the really big ones I'm support because I'm the sound department as well.
Gotcha.
So we need a guest designer. We need a grad student helping, et cetera, et cetera. So a really big thing we have done was. Candide.
Candide.
Yeah,
Okay.
the famous French play. But the one that everyone does is a interpretation that was changed up some in the 70s.
I see. Do you like plays?
I prefer working on straight plays.
I understand.
Which is not to say non-gay. I just mean not musicals.
Right.
Because I just love to get to concentrate on, usually more like weird music, soundtrack type music and stuff that doesn't need to be songs. And it's a very big undertaking to do a giant musical.
Yeah.
And do that right, because everybody wears body mics that have, and they're super hard to mix without
Of
feedback.
course. And then if it's a musical, there's definitely dancing in it.
Yeah, which makes it hard to sing on top of that, or even fighting sometimes.
How much freedom do you usually have, like, whenever you're trying to work, like, events? Is there something like a person being like, I want it to be set up like this and sound like this and be like this, or do you just kind of do it however?
Well, yeah, it's a structure for sure. There's a director for each play. It could be someone from out of town, or it could be one of our professors.
Okay.
And they have ultimate say. Some of them, they have different levels of wanting to collaborate and be weird. Some, I'll give a shout out to Casey Sams, who will never hear the shout out.
Yes, sir.
But,
Casey.
because I like doing the small timer shows up in our, we have 3 theaters, and we have a little lab theater that's 100 people, 100
Nice.
seater.
Okay.
So, and and because it's small fry stuff.
Where's that at? Where's that?
All at
small-
UT, right next to each
Okay.
other. They're all, it's even in this, the little one's even in the same building as the main one, which is the Clarence Brown. Then we have the Carousel Theater, which is round and pretty historic.
Nice.
I think I've skated by that.
Yeah,
Possibly.
yeah, there's lots of skating places there.
Very nice.
Except when you have to go uphill.
So, like, with her, sometimes I've got to do some very crazy stuff, and she doesn't pull me back.
Good.
So,
Yeah, that's what I've always wondered, like, because I've always felt like they kind of keep you in a box per se, like yeah.
if I'm, sometimes it's, you're in a box just because of the type of play that it is, and what it's, that it's an old English play.
Right, right.
Are you ever in a position where you get to just go as weird as possible, or the creative direction is all at your discretion?
Well, I got to do that with Casey several times. I've always, pushed to be a little more unique, but for instance, I brought some stuff that I know we're gonna work on offline to get into the show, but let me tell you about another really cool play that we did a long time ago, and it was the Bacchae of Euripides. That's a Greek play, and but this version is the version that Wally Soyinka rewrote or reimagined or whatever.
Yeah.
And Wally Soyinka is a Nigerian guy, a poet who won the Nobel Prize for Poetry. And so we did his version of this, and we joined up forces with an East Knoxville African culture group.
Yeah.
And so they had djembe players and so forth. And they had,
What's a djembe?
it's like a conga or it's a drum, but it's the lead. It's the lead.
You know it. You've seen it, Jimbe.
I'm sure I have and just didn't know it was called.
Yeah.
Probably called it a drum.
It's the African version. I would consider a doumbek to be a little like a djembe.
Right.
It's sharp. You can make a sharp sound, but the big djembes get a really great bass sound too.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So it's murder on your hands. And anyway, so I met a friend named Simba Smith doing that, and I'm kind of still friends with him. I brought a little of his hip hop on my flash drive as well. So
Nice.
I've had all sorts of different styles and things. When I moved back from Boston, the music scene in Knoxville generally back then used to be heavy blues rock.
I can see that.
Yeah.
What genre do you feel like you work with the best, or like do you feel like you, I don't know, mesh with the best, like with all your expertise?
Good question. It's nice to record jazz. I recorded for Will Boyd at the Red Piano Lounge, and he put that record out live, which the Red Piano was on Kingston Pike down there in the Cellar, next to Sergeant Pepperoni's or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of places there that we've been to, me and my friends over the years, but this was a guy I knew from the theater that quit the theater and threw himself into opening this jazz club.
Nice.
And I got to help him out, pick out the sound system for it, and I would go down there on special nights and try to make sure the mix was cool.
I feel like my sound for jazz is just so weird because I'm from Memphis. Cause like every time, like whenever I think of jazz music, I feel like I'm thinking of more like a blues kind of music opposed to like jazz music because I'm from Memphis and that's all the jazz that I know. Like
It's all jazz. Man.
Right.
It's all jazz. I mean,
Yeah.
blues, in my opinion, is the parent of jazz.
Okay.
But
I always thought they went hand in hand.
yeah, they kind of do. I mean, Louis Armstrong, you know, super important music person, period.
But like if I turn on jazz on like, if I were to put on jazz like on like satellite radio, that's definitely not what I'm growing up listening to. Like if I put on like just random, original, just basic jazz music.
There's so many kinds.
Yeah, it's nothing like how I've like, I guess, learned to know jazz.
I like a lot of different kinds. I love Afro-Latin jazz, Cuban jazz kind of stuff. It's really hard. Ding 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 ding. Oh, that.
I don't like a lot of sharp, hazardous sounds whenever I'm listening to things. I'm like Sean in that regard. High frequency sounds.
Oh yeah.
I can deal with one, but when you start getting too weird with it, I
Piercing flute.
Yeah, because when I throw on jazz, I like to chill and relax or be focused on cooking most often times.
Right.
So I don't necessarily like to have things that are drawing my attention in such.
Have you heard the Yeezus album?
Yeah, and I love it.
You didn't like
I love it. that's the irony of it. It's just in certain times, because when I listen to jazz, there are specific moods that I'm listening to it. I may have a shorty over, and I just want it in the background. I'm trying to talk to her, but yet I got ding, 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 all going crazy.
Hell no. What are you like in your mid-40s, dude? Listening to jazz with females and shit?
My vibes are completely different from your vibes. You feel me?
All right.
There's a vibe and there's a time for everything.
Dilly likes smooth jazz.
I do. I love the fuck out some smooth jazz.
What y'all got to say about
I love the fuck out some smooth jazz. Come at me with it.
Come at me with it.
You should go see Brian Clay play locally. He's smooth and awesome.
Ooh, where at?
All over. I just look him up on the internet. Say Brian Clay piano.
Brian Clay.
Yeah.
Definitely have to give him a try.
Nice. Reason why I asked you if you liked plays is because Boston is not super close to New York, but it's close enough to go.
I did a couple times because I was close to see plays.
So
that was long before I had it as a job idea.
Did you go on Broadway like to see plays?
I saw The Wiz, I think.
Oh,
It's been so long ago, I can scarcely remember.
I'm sure that was cool. I saw Matilda at Broadway, and that was the only play that I've ever seen, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You know, I was in New York, and we passed Broadway, and this is when I was young. This is my first trip to New York, and they had Matilda like on the billets, I think it's called.
Yes.
And we were just walking past, and I love the Marquee. Marquee, yeah. Dude, I can't believe I forgot that. But I love Matilda, and I've always wanted to watch that. So I'm envious of you that you got to do.
Man, let me tell you, the actor that played, what's the lady's name? Miss Trunchbull, whatever her name is, the mean old fat lady.
Yeah.
Man, she played the hell out of that part. I mean, the cake part where she was doing all that weird stuff with the cake. They had that part in the play. It was a great play.
Wait, how they put that together? Like,
so they used, it was same little concept. They used a little fat kid. Are we running low? We good?
Little fat kid.
It was a little fat kid that they used, and they just was all like, eat the cake, like just like the movie. It was terrible, but it was just like, damn, they really did the same shit. But bro, it was amazing. It was a great play.
It's incredible what they can do in a live situation with enough.
Yes.
I mean, the technology is outrageous on Broadway. I mean, it's not. They're not like weird about it, but it's pretty intense. The lengths they go to make stuff sound great, and did you see the mic right in the middle of their forehead?
I didn't know.
What?
I didn't notice that.
The last time I was over was in New York to see the play. It was quite a while ago, a long time ago, and the body mics were showing right here, and I'm always going back to my job and saying, they let them show. They let them show. New York. It's okay. We can do it.
That's crazy. I never knew.
Wow.
It's pretty small. It's just like a little lump right here, and it's only the seats that are actually too close.
Yeah,
right. That
where you
can tell. Right.
And I have terrible eyesight anyway, so I probably wouldn't have been able to make it out.
Have you ever worked a show that's not maybe exactly like Broadway, but big in that and like really crazy and just.
Candide was, and all our big shows on the main stage at Clarence Brown are pretty professional.
Wow.
And they give you a good idea of the same sort of concept. We have lots of things that are easier, like we don't run for very long. We only run a play for 2 weeks. It's crazy when you consider it takes, 8 months prior to it and a bunch of meetings and.
So everybody that's in the play, they're UT students, right?
No, it's a professional theater.
Okay.
It's a blended.
Nice.
They have different, it makes it hard to manage and hard to do the paperwork for, I would imagine.
Do you have to deal with personalities often?
Oh, it's nothing but psychology.
Oh, gosh.
Often, yeah. But, it's 110% sort of environment, so some people, most people are really, really trying hard. And it's amazing to see that many people, because really, it's a lot of people that need to cooperate on something.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, I'd love to, maybe work for a little while before I totally retire at a place that wasn't a school, because it gets a lot simpler when it's not a school.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to give kids opportunities to do scene and design the set or design the costume.
Right.
We do use them heavily, the grad students.
I feel like that's the only place I ever really see or think of whenever I hear the word play or any type of production. If it's not Broadway, I immediately think of a school or college.
Yes,
Type
that is a huge
of
part of the market, a huge part of the industry.
Seems very niche.
Because they get, supported by the state rather than trying to get by and make those expensive plays for,
Yeah.
without any money.
Yeah, bootstrapping.
Yeah,
We're gonna go in for a timeout real quick.
Cool.
Yeah, we're half.
Alright, cool. Alright, we'll be pretty cool. That was great.
I just don't want to have any type of "we're back" type shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're back.
We're
back.
We're amazing commercials.
We're back. Okay, for real though. I wanted to talk about how important, like I guess, the relationship aspect of it to like the artists that you've recorded out here in Knoxville, and how important that relationship is to understand artists and what they want to do.
Well, it's super important, obviously, to be able to understand how they feel.
Yeah.
There's the famous producers out there, because a producer at the studio is music. It's not like a film producer, but it's a guy, kind of the leader. Sometimes I don't produce. I don't charge enough to. If somebody wanted to put me on as producer, I'd have to ask for some more money. But I do producing things, in the studio sometimes. Depends on if they want me to, or if I feel the opening to help them. Some really inexperienced singers, that couldn't keep a pitch. I know how to keep a pitch and how to tell somebody to stop making their chest go in and out, which makes you shake. Just little things that I've learned from tiny bits of voice lessons I might have had or somebody told me about.
Do you just record anybody, or is it like a specific people that you'll?
It's a pretty
work
small
with?
deal these days. I'm probably interested in doing a bunch more right now, or starting to, because I'd like to retire from theater and all the meetings and stuff. And it's pretty hard to make money doing it, but I think I could, pay myself back a little bit. Because I've, invested over the years and still do all the time. I bought a couple of weeks ago, early this morning.
Sorry.
What was that? Get him out the game, coach.
Do you feel like there's been anybody that you've recorded in the past that you've had an issue with, and like what issues were those?
I've not had any terrible problems. I've had things people not want to finish once or twice. My studio, the one I can think of, it was a really great mandolin player and playing sort of hot, bluegrassy type stuff. And in this particular era, they weren't really playing out, playing gigs or anything, so they hadn't rehearsed a ton. and wanted to work on it and put it together in the studio somewhat and everything. So, I mean, there's great players. And really, this guy knows the good players. And he's a producer too, sort of. He made some records, made a record for JJ Nicely that's really cool. But,
I don't know who that is.
yeah, nobody would. Well, yeah, a certain crowd might, but we just can't have a group recording, particularly acoustic folk, and then go in and fix parts in my studio. It's too small.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing that closed down a project. But we weren't mad. I was mad. It's just there's too much bleed from all the other
Different
players
instruments, yeah.
for somebody to go in and fix just the guitar
Mm-hmm.
in one little part. So it wasn't working out on that front. But no, I haven't had much problems with people. In the early days when I moved back from Boston, I worked with some young rockers in the sort of the Pearl Jam or sort of style perhaps. There was a group that was kind of like Ben Folds.
I'll pretend to know who that is. Did you ever?
Ben Folds.
I'm not.
He's a piano player, but he made band music and a little unusual.
Did you ever have a criterion for when you met new artists or how you went about scouting? Did you ever actively scout new potential people to work with? Was it just happenstance?
It usually just happens, and advertising and just taking calls gets pretty weird. Like people, a girl called me, she wanted me to help her put together her tape for some America Sings type show or
Right.
something like that.
It seems like everybody
I don't
that
really
you
do that.
yeah, it seems like everybody that you've worked with, you've kind of gotten a relationship with them kind of organically, which I feel like is kind of better that way opposed to.
Well, it came out of me wanting to have a studio to record myself and my friends.
Yeah.
So, and I just started liking it. And so, I mean, it's really hasn't seen its best day yet. It probably will. Hopefully in the next 10 years, during the next 10 years, I'll do some really good stuff.
I love getting in there. It's amazing. Like every time I'm in there, it feels like I'm motivated more just by the surrounding space I'm in. It allows you to really just get in the right headspace.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
It's got those things on the windows that let light through, but you don't really see out. And
time moves.
it's cooler down there than the rest of the place. And but yeah, I've worked headphone jacks in all sorts of places. I can do individual headphone mixes. We don't use it to its extent by any means. You guys have used it.
Yeah. We get pretty groovy.
It's just that when somebody comes in there, it just takes time to set it up, and a lot of people haven't been in a studio before or just don't really like.
It was weird my first couple of times.
You gotta come there
get
and
used to it.
you're not coming there to immediately record.
Yeah.
You're coming there to get ready to record and well, like most people, I would like to try 2 to 3 different vocal mics on if it's important about the singing. I had some early rap artists. Yeah.
Any names? Any standout names?
I don't know about you. I doubt it. I don't know Buford and Leroy, the Track Team Productions.
That sounds like some Buford and Leroy. They sound like they wear tracksuits.
Leroy.
Oh, they're awesome dudes.
Album cover.
Awesome dudes. They let me work with them. I learned with them a lot. But we were doing stuff, tons of like the old hip hop thing of loops and loops and loops off of records and stuff. And it was really hard to make sure stuff looped properly, and especially back then, and make sure it didn't drift off, each other, because they would use a bunch, and there was scratching, and everything.
You said that you wanted to kind of move out of doing plays here soon and just thinking about retiring. Is there like is there anything that you want to accomplish before you go ahead and make that move to retirement? Or do you want to, is there like one big play that you want to do or something like that?
I don't control anything,
Just kind of,
do that.
I understand.
You just kind of get hired for it?
Well, there's committees, that decide what plays we're going to do, and there's, the department head is also the artistic department head, and that person has final say, I suppose, to what plays we do and what order. It's a crushing task to try to do because we're trying to have plays that offer a interesting chance for designing a set, or we're trying to make sure that you know, for grad students, and so we're really trying to feed that. We're also trying to be a professional theater that's good enough to get people to come, and it's gone a lot better.
Whenever you do actually retire, do you think that there's anything different that you're gonna do as far as like your recording, like recording artists and everything like, is there anything different that you're gonna try to do to like, I guess, expand that,
Well, it has, working there totally has expanded my mind on things that help me with all art. But, you know, I remember, I realized this a long time ago, from being at the theater, I just got a better understanding of how important it was for a singer to be a performer and not just a singer.
Right.
Yeah.
And
What do you mean by that, though?
like David Bowie, you know, if I understood what he was doing more, you know, that he was an actor. He's acting his songs, and you know, if you're making songs
That are meant to be performed.
yeah, well, I mean, you know, rap tends to be a lot of first, you know, talking about yourself or stuff like that, but not other genres. You get into where people are singing as a character,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, and with the emotions of whatever that song's about, you know, it might be about us. You know, I'm a trucker. You know,
I actually recently went to this, I did like a really impromptu performance, and helped out at the Tyson skate park. And there was a guy who performed something along the lines of what you were talking about. It wasn't, it had a backing track, but instead of music, more sound design, more, you know, you could tell he took more chances on whatever he was doing to create the mood that he was acting to. And when I say the acting was far out, it was far out. He was really committing to, that's what really,
wow, in Knoxville, I need to
he was painted up
to
and
that
everything.
guy.
Real great guy, yeah. If I had his Instagram, I'd definitely have it. I'll show you some pictures later.
And so, also, more on your question, working with people to where they can do something well, not just having them come in the studio and staring at them
Yeah.
necessarily. Sometimes it's great to do something weird like this. There's a former student that I'm trying to talk into. She's got her repertoire going of songs. I guess it's just singer-songwriter, guitar with guitar things. But I was saying, you know, since you're an actor, you may want to just record at a coffee shop or something where you can't stop, and you know, and don't second guess yourself. And you just want to, you know, perform for people and capture that. And, you know, you just hate the limitations of the sound quality of recording live, and you know, not being able to do stuff.
Plus COVID.
Stop and fix stuff. Plus COVID.
Yeah. COVID put a damper on a lot of things.
Well, yeah, but now's the time. Everybody's coming out of the wood to play and do festivals. And,
Have you capitalized on any of it, work-wise, or?
No, no. You know, and it is true that I kind of want to work with who I want to work with at the studio. And sometimes, you know, the best way to do things is to do them piece by piece here and there. You know, if you have a whole thing and everybody wants to come over and record the basic parts, that's cool. But then there's all this time where you kind of, oh, I should do this, I should add that, I should do this, and you know, process can get eternal. But and I hope most people will finish most of their stuff. But I do like for them to work in chunks and not try to kill themselves.
That's the one part.
Do crappy work just to be done.
The collaboration part of the fear of working with somebody who's not really there to finish or there to really like craft an idea at all. Like that's one thing I have to weed out when I try to collaborate.
Yeah, so I don't just produce the singers, you know, and giving them, you know, notes. That's what we call it in the theater when you give somebody notes. But I work with, you know, I've always had suggestions. You just gotta decide if they're interested, if there's time, if you're not gonna freak them out to where they're not gonna be able to do anything good because you've said, oh, can you make it a little more like this? So, you know.
I like the first part that you said about creating everybody coming together and just crafting out the base elements, because you do run into the parts where you want to add stuff here, try to fine tune everything, but when you have everyone there, you're able to capture that same kind of essence that you capture whenever you told.
It's two different phases. You know, the first phase is where everybody, you know, has the energy and it happens, and you push forward, and then the other part's a little more analytical.
Yeah. Definitely feel like there are more limitations to getting that pulled off, but the benefits you reap from it in terms of creativeness and.
By the time you get a whole band's headphones to sound how each person wants it to sound, because once you start putting it in the headphones, it's no longer real. So if a band can play without wearing headphones at all, that's cool. Even the singer sometimes, you know, but it would have to be in a closet unless they just, you know, we do things that way. We do them all out in the same room sometimes because we don't care, and we you know, you don't want to slow down enough on what you're into.
Yeah. And
you capture it, and you may have to go do a whole other version, but at least you didn't screw up and talk about it too much to where you forgot you lost the groove.
Very true. Now we have talked about a whole lot, but we kind of talked about your start off and like what got you into it, but not necessarily what it was that got you into starting to want to like record artists and everything like that. So I guess my question to you is, what is your why? What's your why? Why do you do everything that you do here in Knoxville, and why do you choose Knoxville to do everything that you do?
Because it's a really good resource for artists.
I don't feel super carefree and like I would move all over no matter what. I guess I'm kind of the guy that wants to make use of what he knows already is available, and there's plenty of it. And but Knoxville's good. It's inexpensive. You can get places from here, but what is my reason for it? I do actually like doing it the actual time. Really actually like the part of setting it up and making it ergonomic and making it quality and chipping away at the things that aren't as good as they should be. And
so for me, if I were in your position, one thing that I would constantly think about is not being selfish, which I feel like is so hard to do in your position, because when you're hearing all these different sounds, it's like, damn, I don't know if I really like that sound. You should do this, you should do that. How is it hard for you to not to be like, nah, fam, let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way, because you probably listen to music a different way than everybody else does. So is that ever a problem that you come across, that with like people wanting it to sound this way and you're knowing that doesn't work?
I sort of get what they're into and what they want to be into, and I don't have much of a problem with that, really. I don't tell people what to do. Mixing wise, I might be a jerk a little bit about, that's a terrible mix, or something like that, but not the music.
Yeah, because there's a lot of memes out there, like of producers in the studio having to do that same thing.
Oh, I love that.
I
love that one video I've seen where the woman is from the control booth. The guy's killing himself and he's sweating bullets and stuff, turning stuff up and down, and you hear through the monitors, you hear the woman singing, and she's singing amazingly well, right?
Yeah.
And then they switch to a camera angle inside the studio, and she's like,
That's usually how it goes. I feel like that's how it was when Sean first brought me over. I did not expect it to turn into what it did, and then have to actually like perform vocally, and I was so self-conscious because you were there, you were like looking. I was like, oh man.
Oh yeah, get right down to business.
Yeah.
What artists have you worked with that's had the best vocals?
Well, I recorded Sarah Jordan, the blues singer, in Knoxville back in the 90s. She died.
R.I.P.
She was a huge singer. Let's see, best singers. Well, I would say I've worked with the best singers at the theater.
Anybody you want to shout out here?
Yeah.
Brittany Pruitzoli and don't put me on the spot about names. But there are some fine singers that get in, you know, and they get ridden like horses for the musicals because
Yeah.
we make our music make our money off the musicals.
Speaking of that, so you know in entertainment in Hollywood, on major productions, that's a big thing, getting credit, also in music. Do you feel like in the play work business, people get paid adequately? Like, is that ever a problem?
No, it's a
that comes
low-rent
up?
thing. It's a pro-mouthing sort of environment where we want to do as much of an amazing production as we can, so we're saving all the money. Well, no, I'm just saying it is a thing where there's never enough money, and if there is, we might actually overspend anyway.
Yeah.
But it's super expensive, especially with the legality of being, you know, a real legit theater, of paying for, like, you know, if you want to do somebody's play, you have to pay royalties
Yeah.
to get
And that's
it.
what I was getting down to.
Yeah, and that makes the job of picking plays and doing stuff hard too.
Wow.
Another very hard part of that. Like they wanted to do Rent, and there was a revival of it in big theater in New York and stuff. Year before last.
So it was expensive to do.
They wouldn't give it to us at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you make it some decision, it doesn't matter if you even have the money, much less. Yeah.
I feel like it's just one of the main industries that doesn't get a lot of attention when it comes to royalties as an avenue for an artist to break into for their music and stuff. The same way film and TV are staples in generating royalties for a musician. I feel like playwriting or dealing with any production style play.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's just so divided between like academic theater and New York theater. I mean, there's only a few of theaters that aren't academic that aren't in a giant city.
And I feel like the music too is no, you're fine.
New York, Chicago, LA all
Yeah.
have real scenes, and then there's some famous regional theaters in weird places. Like the peninsula of Michigan, and there's Utah Shakespeare Theater Festival that's been going for a long time that a lot of people know about. And but it is a strange, you know, environment. We've worked in the past. We used to work with Europeans, theater people, and have them over and guest them, and it's very different, or it's somewhat different. You know, like. It's just done differently, and the government's put a lot more money towards it, you know, rather than them having to be poor theater.
Yeah, I always loop it in the same vein as starving artistry. You know, there's certain.
It's not popular.
Would you call it dying? I don't know if you could call it dying just because it's so
been the same
ingrained.
about like it is right now for a long time.
Yeah, that's what's so peculiar about it.
You know, it seems like the only way they can make huge splashes. Well, there was one. Hamilton was truly an original thing, but a lot of the stuff, and I may step on Matilda here, is just stuff they've made plays out of movies.
Yeah.
And that's not really that awesome in my mind, although I'm sure some of them are pretty great. I like the classics, sort of, the classic weird ones, you know, but frankly I wasn't a theater guy, and I still think of myself more as a music guy than a theater guy. I've always tried to make some music, compose some music for plays. You gotta pick and choose because it moves so quickly to where you're gonna commit and say I'm gonna write music for a play, because it can get really difficult.
Yeah, I feel like there are more
Changes and stuff.
restrictions.
Oh yeah, and changing, you know, the stuff you're trying to be real specific about, and they change the whole, and they change the way they're doing the play, and, which it's super gratifying though when your music is motivating a play. I did a play in the Lab Theater again with Casey again. And it was called Top Girls, and it's a feminist play, and they have characters from 2,000 years ago on stage with modern day people and secretaries and stuff, and so I made this sort of runway electronica, you know, like models on a runway thing,
Yeah.
because the name of the play was Top Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that,
Yeah, something
sort
to
of
strut to, you know?
yeah, strutting music. And on top of that, I laid all these crazy historical clips, you know, like, oh, you know, monks on one of them, because there was a Pope Joan character from history in it, and I love getting to stretch out and doing weird combinations and stuff like that.
You ever done a fashion show before?
No,
Yeah.
man. I want to do modern dance though.
That'd be so
I've
cool.
got music that I wish people would do a modern dance with. Do you know that they sort of make the dance and then they shop for music?
Really?
That would make sense, because it
It's
seems
about
like
the
they would
movement
quiet,
and all
yeah.
that,
Uh-huh.
and what they're saying with their movement, and then, you know, music could be completely bizarre as long as it works rhythmically,
Dude.
you know.
Imagine some,
If you've seen, you should go see some modern dance sometime. It's fun.
Speaking of that,
That's
I
some of the
wanted
loudest music that we play in our theater is when we used to host modern dance.
I'll have to check that out.
how do you guys advertise the plays? Because I feel like I never hear about them.
Because it's pretty low key.
Low key, you gotta be in on the scene.
I see.
not on
Speakeasies
purpose.
or some shit.
Pull up on the pub, what's the password?
You know, they advertise us on UT Radio,
Mhm.
both of them, you know,
Yeah.
UTK and UOT. And then on some other radio stations, and I'm not sure about print or anything like that. You know, it's a very expensive thing to do.
Do you know of another play that's going to be soon?
Yeah.
We're not doing anything until Christmas, and it's going
Okay.
to be a Christmas Carol again. Completely new version though. We haven't.
Like a Christmas Carol or the a
Dickens,
Christmas
Charles
Carol?
Dickens.
Do
A Christmas
Do they
Carol.
typically not do things in the summer, or?
Yeah, it's somewhat closed in June mainly.
Makes sense. Okay.
And we don't have anything that would be on our normal schedule would be to have something started.
Do the people you work with take just anyone, or because I know it's like we said, it's
They'll take
education.
auditions for sure when there's a call for people from town.
No, to write plays.
Oh, to
So,
write plays.
yeah, being in the writers' room and just coming up with the fusion, I guess, the modern.
We
play.
do some new plays once in a while. That's a different thing. Most of them have been already done.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we do some stuff that's fairly new that isn't just written. But we have done 2 or 3 that were written like for us, or our theater was going to be the inaugural place for it to be produced the first time, which is really cool.
Yeah. Apart from the middle school ventures of messing around with sound, like when I took tech theater, that's really what motivated me to
Writing.
mess with, not necessarily writing, but messing more with sound, and then having to take the acting counterpart of the class, focusing more on the writing, because I already do writing as my main
Yeah,
field of study and career
yeah.
choice.
Well,
So
if you
I've
take
always
the
wanted to
acting,
write.
you'll be a better writer.
I figured, yeah, I can see that working out.
A little bit, it could help you out
Yeah.
a lot, or it does. Let me tell you about, before we run out of time, about a play we did year before last. That was a new play, and it was by an author that we'd already done a play by in the Lab Theater, and so he was famous somewhat, and it's a pretty popular new play called Control-Alt-Delete.
Control Alt Delete. I like
It was
that.
about kids and exposure online or something, I forget, but
Pretty edgy.
the play that he wrote for us and came here and finished writing it here while we were rehearsing it, it was called People Where They Are, and it was about the Highlander Center, and one of my best friends is Evan Caroline, a fine folk musician and leading hammer dulcimer player. But
Shout out to him.
yeah, his parents though were kind of famous, a guy named Candy Caroline, and they were civil rights activists and coal mining rights activists and all those things. And the Highlander Center is out there in Marketplace. Shout out to Highlander Center, and it's a non-profit place with a kitchen that can feed, you know, a conference worth of people, and meeting rooms and stuff like that. And they help to teach people in it to enable themselves in social movements. And so I think the first was the coal miners movement, and it moved to a few different places in East Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a lot of history.
So we made a play about them, about their history, and we mashed all the different movements that they helped together.
Wow.
And which is a feat of writing to where they were in the same room, because they were 30, the first ones would have been 30 years apart from the others. So, like migrant farm workers or gay rights. And then the coal miners was their initial thing. They're not specifically associated with any. Anyway, play was cool, and it was super, super deep and important to me.
I feel like
we got to do that.
I feel like more people would be into plays if it wasn't for the technological drawback and advantage that movies have over plays. Of just putting stuff together that, humans can't do with, I hate to be traditional, but, the pulley system and shit.
Right.
So,
Well, we totally use the traditional pulley systems.
Yeah.
Arbors, they call them. And counterweights. And
But at the same time, I feel like if people just go to see one play and understand how plays work, they'll be like, oh shit, plays are the shit. Because that's how I felt the first time I seen a play. I seen a play and I was like, damn, this is actually way better than watching a movie. Way better.
You get to see kind of the behind the scenes every time you see a play, and then knowing, like you said, how the play is structured,
right?
How much it takes to make a play run. Oh, I bet it's probably exquisite. It's like when you go to the opera as
when it works right and you had a big part to do in it, it's a great feeling.
That's why some people like that Medea's, like the whole play.
Great, yo.
Right.
The plays
I
are
don't like
fantastic.
Medea myself. I think that shit's hella corny, and I don't like. I don't. And I honestly, and on some deeper shit, I don't like the way that he like portrays black people.
That's a good point.
I think it's skewed as hell.
You're right.
But it is what it is.
I agree with you there.
Very much so.
Those movies are so entertaining to watch.
Very much so.
Just how absurd they are in the storylines.
But you said something, so if you really get to know about plays, it's not, you don't care, if you get to be a play guy, you don't necessarily, about the production not being as good as movies, it's not the point.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you're in the room with somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually and the good actors actually have those feelings that they're supposed to have. They're not faking them much. They sort of get into it, and it's pretty freaky in some moments.
Wow.
The Carousel Theater is round, so you get a pretty close-up thing. The Clarence Brown Theater is a proscenium theater. That's where you have a formal stage and curtain. We don't usually use anyway, but harder to be intimate there.
See, me personally, I guess I'm just not that intimate when it comes to my entertainment, but plays are one of the few forms of live entertainment that I actually like. I like my content processed. What is with people today? Y'all use phones.
No,
That
that's
was
no
me
line.
thinking. That was the sound of me thinking.
Oh, I think we were exchanging information.
Yes.
Until that. Yo, it was so strong. I sent him a whole movie file. That's why.
That's okay.
That's why y'all heard it.
That is okay. Hey, but honestly, it's been so good to have you on here on the podcast,
Thank you so
man.
much for having me.
We've learned so much from having you on here that I honestly had no idea about.
Bro.
No idea about.
You have a dictionary.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Page pulled up. But likewise.
So fun.
What do you know what the name of the play that you guys might be doing in the whenever it comes Christmas time? What's the play called?
Same play, different, a completely new version of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens,
That's
man.
the Scrooge one,
Okay.
Story.
It's okay, bro. It's gonna be performed live. You know what I'm saying? You'll have a new little twist because it's new actors. You feel me?
I wish it didn't take so much to put on a play, or I wish more people were involved, so we could get different variations and just.
I really like guerrilla theater and situational theater. Like I have a friend at work that directs plays. He's particularly good directing plays of women. He did Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar, wow.
That's a Shakespeare.
Yes.
But he did it with all women, and he did it just.
How did he do it with all women?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's why.
Take
Same way we did it with all men, I guess, for the
art,
ages.
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's art, yeah. It's for locals only. Yo.
Locals only. Locomotive Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to add the plug. But man, we were so glad to have you on here, man. Thank you so much for coming out, bro.
Yeah. Can't wait to get back in the studio with you. I feel like
Absolutely.
you're finishing up some stuff.
The car all fixed?
No, actually.
No.
I was supposed to get a call from the person who's been ducking my calls. I'm not gonna say it for later.
Hey, it is all good. We gonna figure that shit out.
He's doing me a solid.
Hey,
but, man,
we appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Tune in for the next one. Y'all be easy, bro.
Take it easy.